Hey, this is Bruce Trujillo with Indie 1023 for another Stay at Home session. Today, welcoming Orion Sun. You've been hearing the project from Tiffany Majette on our airwaves. She just released the album Hold Space for Me on March 27th. Tiffany is joining us from her place in Philly. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
How are you?
I'm hanging in there, this quarantine life is crazy. But
Well, it keeps going, right?
right, yeah. So I'm doing the best I can. How about
Cool.
you?
Good.
You good?
I'm doing good. Yeah, same. Holding in there, able to work from home, which is a lot of fun. And I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you are able to join us. As I said, the new album, Hold Space for Me, is out now. And a follow up to your 2017 mixtape, a collection of fleeting moments and daydreams. That collection is thinly named because you kind of were able to release them almost immediately. And this here, too, is also fittingly named because you were able to sit with the songs a little bit longer and holding space for them, kind of. So tell me
Yeah.
the differences between releasing that mixtape and this album.
I think one big difference is, yeah, I think for Hold Space for Me, it was the first time I actually sat down and was like, okay, let me make an album. Um, so it just felt more cohesive in this way and um, more intentional than usual. And with the collection of fleeting moments and daydreams, it literally was just me kind of fumbling around in the dark, trying to figure out where I wanted to go sonically. So it was a little bit more, I think both projects are both free, but my like mixtape was definitely like just a free for all, just just trying stuff. So I think that's a huge difference.
And a lot of themes running through your music as well, dealing with love and loss and everything in between. And it feels very autobiographical. But I
Mm.
read that you are able to kind of, you're able to pinpoint a few emotions, but also keep it vague enough to keep your privacy. So how do you decide what to keep in your music and what to kind of keep for yourself?
Um, It's a really good question. I feel like as I continue on making music, I feel myself opening up more and more a little bit. But yeah, I think I don't know. I guess I just go with what feels right. Just
Right.
what feels right. If I feel a little bit too exposed, like for example, trying, I felt a little exposed, a little scared. But I think that is also a sign of growth for me deciding to put something out like that. And I think it's just a bunch of conversations like that with myself and just figuring out um, where the line is and if I can like budget up a little bit. So yeah, there isn't like one way to like figuring out. It's a lot of back and forth growth type vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I read that you feel nihilistic, like you kind of get that, but also optimistic. So talk about seeing the world in one way, but being able to throw a silver lining on it.
I don't know. For me, it's definitely important to not lean too far on either side. Because I don't know, I've seen when people are just too optimistic and it's just like, like, let's be a teeny bit realistic and vice versa. I don't know. It's definitely a balancing act. Like if I ever catch myself leaning too far on one side, I'm like, okay, let me bring it back. So it's not as much work as it sounds, but I literally can't live my life ignoring one or the other. Like I just have to. I don't know. It also brings me peace in a way because it's just like, all right, this is happening, but I don't know. Just it's hard to explain, but I really appreciate both perspectives, and I don't live in either for too long. I think it's healthy to have a balance.
Definitely. And within the album, there are a few influences. You've sang a lot about your hip hop heroes. So who were you listening to while you were crafting this particular album, Hold Space for Me?
I was definitely listening to mm, Billie Holiday, Nat King Cole, um, was sort of like delving into the history of soul, R&B, what it means to society, what it means to me. Hip-hop, just too many, honestly, too many to name. I don't know, I was just very well-rounded, but honestly, while I was making the project, it really was just my old stuff, making sure I'm not repeating anything, and sort of just like trying to grow upon the foundation that I set. Because I always just want to like grow um, upward. And I feel like I will dabble in other kind of genres and stuff along the way, but I feel like Hold Space for me is just sort of another building block on what I've done previously. So it was a lot of just listening to my old stuff and like studying the greats, honestly.
That's awesome. So who are you listening to now? Like, who's keeping you company during quarantine?
Oh, a huge one. I have to say, you know, Nick Hakim. He's just hits you right here.
That new one, yeah.
Yeah, so good, Kadir. Oh my God. Yeah, and my partner recently got me the Still Bill Withers vinyl, so I've been like kind of obsessing over that. That album literally has no skips, so I'm really happy I have that. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I always hate these. I always like blank.
You always blank out. I do the same thing. All right. Well, we'll move forward. And if you
My
remember
bad.
anything that you need to share, but throughout the past couple of weeks, you've also been doing beat battle tournaments, like through your Instagram and stuff like that. Is this something that you were doing before quarantine, also?
No, it's so crazy because I don't think it would have happened if it weren't for quarantine. But it's always been a dream of mine because, well, the only difference is I would want it in person, but I've always wanted to sort of like get together producers and sort of have like a battle in the States because I see that they do it in Toronto in real life. So I was like, all right, I miss my friends here. Let me just, and there's no sports happening or anything. So I was like, let's just try it out. Let's just see what happens. And it's been so fun.
And there is a graphic system too. So if you haven't seen it, go and check out Orion Sun's Instagram. It's a lot of fun to look at. What else have you been doing with your time here? Like after the release of the record, I don't know if you have any more creative space after releasing an entire record, but yeah, what else have you been doing to fill your time?
I've been updating my studio, clearing through my song files. I realized in the beginning I was taking myself serious, but I wasn't naming things properly. So it's always so hard to find stuff. So I'm like making sure everything's in order and organized in that way. I'm working on an EP that hopefully I can put out next year. And I'm working on my third installment of my test mixtape that'll be out in November. So I'm keeping myself busy. I'm also trying to go outside when I can, when it feels right. But Philly, I don't know, whenever the sun is out, there's no such thing as social distancing. It's so sad. I'm like, no.
Everywhere. Yeah, I think it's so hard right now with like the weather getting better. People are just like, you want to be outside, but gotta keep on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite things that I read about you is that when you were a kid, you wanted to be an astronaut and you have this love for space, and I totally relate to that. So tell me about like keeping that love and that interest alive through your poetry. Like there's a bunch of imagery and themes throughout the album that are just like little pops of, you fell down like a comet or a moonbeam or whatever that is. So expand more on like including that love for space in your art.
Yeah. Space will always have a special place in my heart. I think my favorite thing about space is the discovery aspect and how there's just so much that we know and so much that we don't know. Yeah, so that hunt in a way is something that I like to incorporate not only in my music, but it's also part of my name and just sort of a way of life at this point. I'm very inquisitive. I love learning, and I don't know, the sky is just so inspiring. Yeah, because who knows? Like, you know, I don't know. The unknown is definitely the basis of every fear, but it doesn't scare me. It excites me, actually. So I kind of like putting all of those things into music um, through space, um, just because I think they go hand in hand really well and help tell the story that I ultimately want to tell, which is, you know, I'm always learning, I'm always discovering, I'm always experiencing, I'm always trying to document so I don't forget, so I can grow. And I feel like, you know, there's definitely a parallel when you're trying to be an astronaut and trying to learn um, about space. So it's really cool.
So do you think that these types of images within your songs, do they just kind of come out because it's natural to you, or do you kind of seek to include those types of images in your poetry?
Hey, I think it's pretty natural. Yeah, never. A lot of times they're sort of like the first things that I come up with. Uh, so yeah, a lot of my lyric writing is pretty. I think the word is intuitive. It
All right,
just sort
well,
of just comes out.
perfect. We should hear one of these from your new album, Hold Space for Me. You're going to do a quick performance for us. So go ahead and set it up. And yeah, let's get to this new one from Orion Sun here on ND 102.3.
All right, I'm gonna do a acoustic version of "Coffee for Dinner." Slept in your bed when I had no place to go. This is a dream I don't plan on letting go. I can't breathe, suffocating so close. Just hope you remember that late night in winter. You saw a winner when I felt like a loser. Coffee for dinner kept me warm and cool, made me stronger on my own. Often, trying to see you often. Call you when I'm often working till the morning. Giving up so easy. I think about it often. Working 2 jobs till I finally got a whip. Crossing state lines, hoping I could feel something. I can't breathe, suffocating so close. Just hope you remember that late night in winter. You saw a winner when I felt like a loser. Coffee for dinner kept me warm and cold, but I never was alone. Often, trying to see you often. Call you when I'm often working till the morning. Giving up so easy. I think about it often, don't think about it often. Trying to see you often. Call you when I'm often. Giving up so easy. I think about it often, don't think about it often. No, 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 no. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it.
There we go. It's new music from Orion Sun, that is Coffee for Dinner, off of the new album, Hold Space for Me. You've been hearing it here on Indie 102.3. And Tiffany, before we go, I was wondering if you'd go on a quick speed date with me.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
All right, so speed dates here on Indie 102.3 are just rapid fire questions about a certain theme. And today I think we got to go with space. It's actually just going to be a fourth grade astronomy test.
No.
I'm just kidding. So, okay, so 10 quick questions. First thing that comes to mind. What's your favorite constellation?
Orion.
Ryan, what's another planet you would choose to live on?
Saturn.
What would you take with you to the International Space Station?
Oh, my laptop.
Gotta have it. Full moon or new moon?
Ooh, new moon.
Lunar or solar eclipse?
Oh, solar.
If you could explore any part of our solar system, where would you go?
Oh, wow. Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Anywhere but a black hole. That's my biggest fear.
Oh, you're terrifying. Yeah. Which previous space flight would you like to have been a part of?
The one with Mae Jemison on it.
Yeah. That might answer one of these upcoming questions. But in your opinion, is Pluto a planet or not?
I was really hurt when they said he wasn't, or it wasn't. So I'm going to say, yeah, I believe that Pluto is.
I think so too. I grew up with that.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any astronaut, who would it be?
Mae Jemison, that was like my school projects for at least 3 grades.
All right. And if you had to choose 2 other space themes for your project name, Orion Sun, what would they be?
Cadet. Or Cloud Gem.
Cloud Gem. That's what your Instagram handle is too, by the way. So follow her. This has been Orion Sun, project from Tiffany Majette, whose new album, Hold Space for Me, is out now. Tiffany, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.